What is the definition of a type 1 error? Is it A, the degree to which a study accurately reflects or assesses the specific concept that the researcher is attempting to measure but misses the mark? Nope, this is wrong. This is actually the definition of validity. For your pharmacy Naplex board exams, I wouldn't even remember this because this is totally useless. You would never need to know this for your board exam, so just ignore this. So choice B, the null hypothesis is true but rejected in error. This is actually correct. This is the definition of a type 1 error. So I'm going to explain this later, but I'm just going to go through the other choices first. So choice C, the study was not large enough to detect a meaningful difference between the treatment groups. That is wrong because this is the definition of underpowered. So the way to fix this would be, obviously, you'd increase the power, and the easiest way to do that, increase sample size. Because that might be a board exam. To increase power, you increase sample size. That's the easiest way to increase power. And now choice D, this is wrong. The null hypothesis is false, but accepted in error. This is actually the definition of a type 2 error. So type 2. And then choice E, a clinical trial with too many confounding variables. That's wrong because that's a definition of confounded. Yeah, so for your board exams, I would just memorize what B does, what type 1 error is, definition of underpowered, and the definition of a type 2 error. So for choice B, type 1 error, which is the null hypothesis is true but rejected in error. So when you reject the null hypothesis, you would see that your p-value is less than 0.05. Like 0.05, that's like the gold standard of what's considered whether you accept or reject the null hypothesis. Right? So this p-value is from your sample size statistic, whatever your data you did with your sample size. It's not the whole population. So the null hypothesis is true. What this means is that if you were to test the whole population, which is obviously impossible for most data analysis, that's why you do statistics, because you take a small sample size to try to figure out what the whole population is. But if you were to test the whole population, then you would for sure know, that you would for sure know the answer. Like whatever the null hypothesis is going to be. But your sample size your sample said that H naught was wrong. I hope that clears things up. So in order to get a type 1 error, the first thing that has to be is you have to reject the null hypothesis. That's the first thing. Reject the null hypothesis. The type 1 error has to be rejected. So the p-value has to be less than 0.05. This has to occur in order to get a type 1 error. So but then if you were actually to know the population, it was actually true. So this statistic is actually wrong. You're supposed to accept it in reality, but then your sample size told you wrong, that to reject the null hypothesis when it was actually true. Okay, so kind of like the complete opposite is choice D here, type 2 error. So type 2 error, you already accepted the null hypothesis. So type 1, type 2 error, you accept the null hypothesis. So that means your p-value was greater than 0.05, right? This is the opposite of the type 1 error because you rejected the H0. But then type 2 error, you accepted the null hypothesis because your p-value was greater than 0.05, right? Complete opposite of type 1 error. So in type 2 error, for this to occur, you have to accept the null hypothesis. And your p-value will be greater than 0.05. But, so this is from your sample, your statistic, right? But then in reality, if you were to test the whole population, it's actually wrong, false. H0 was really false if you could test like the population, because you would know for sure the answer. But based on your sample size, it was wrong because they accepted the null hypothesis. So that's why this is a type 2 error. So I hope that clears things up. If you have any questions, please leave in the comments. And it's easier if you study like your own definition. So if you could put your own definition in the comments of what a type 1 and a type 2 error that you think it is, I'll tell you if you're giving the correct interpretation or not. That's it. Bye.